So Suzette, thank you so much for, joining me today on this personal development webinar. For me, the goal of this conversation is to really invest back into my team, right? My team comes in every single day and they bust their butts to help this company move forward. So I want to be the CEO, the owner that I never had, right? I want to invest back into my team, right? So today our conversation will be exactly that, right? How do we build financial literacy in our team? A lot of them are very young. A lot of them come from different backgrounds, different races, different ages. So it's important for us to kind of have this conversation to build that financial literacy. So thank you for joining me today.
Awesome. It is my pleasure. And hello, employees of this wonderful company. You guys are very fortunate to have an owner and boss that is imparting this wisdom upon his employees because, and I know this is just financial literacy is just something that we don't talk about culturally. You don't ask people how much they make or what they're doing with their money. There's a lot of taboo that comes with that. And unfortunately, it does us a disservice. So as Greg introduced, my name is Suzette Gutierrez. I am a local agent. I do financial planning. I primarily represent a larger company, but I am able to do many different services. I have my own business with my husband and I. We are a husband and wife duo. Sometimes that's fun. If you ask him, sometimes it's not, but we're local business owners in Moreno Valley, so not too far from you. But financial literacy is very important to me. As I mentioned earlier, it was just never anything that was discussed. And you wonder why so many other people, why they were doing this or doing that. And I love to speak to the younger people and everyone else. This can relate to everyone, but definitely the younger people. I know we always say, what would you tell your younger self?
Yes.
Right? Hindsight, looking back and telling my younger self the things that I would have done previously. We are definitely a now and immediate generation where everything is at our service. So, a couple seconds and a few minutes in the drive-through is just too long for us. We want that immediate. So with that, I would like to start with where they start. And I know that everybody, the word budget, that alone, it feels like we're in punishment. When we say budget, it cringe and people are like, nobody likes to do that. So I was thinking about that and I want to use a different word for budget. I would like to use to reflect back on where you're spending your money. And once I started doing that, when I started looking at my bank account, and that's what I'm going to advise you guys to do, is to look at your bank account weekly. What happens is, and this happens with my son as well, we have our credit card app hooked up to our phone. We can order Amazon and everything all day long. So we have charges going all day long and we don't realize the charges that are going. So that's what I want you guys to do first. Take note of that, is reflect weekly and put that on your calendar, whether it's Sunday morning, Monday morning, maybe Friday morning before you go out and spend your money for things that you probably don't have. So reflect back, look at where you're spending your money. For us ladies, it could be those beautiful nails that we get, which I don't have on right now. Just so many things, and we love them. Those are great things, but you got to look at, is that there's a word, budget, is that something that I can afford? We go out now, McDonald's, going through a drive-through at McDonald's, take a family of 4. What's the cost now, Greg? Do you do McDonald's at all with your
I think
kids?
it's like $50. I'm like, how did I get here?
You're like, what did I order? What did you guys order? So now before it was like, $15, $20 through a drive-through. Now you're looking at $30 to $50 and some other names I won't give. But it can be very, very expensive and we don't realize where we're putting our money. And sometimes it's too late. So that would be the number one thing that I would tell you guys to do, is go back and reflect. And when you think about anything that you want in life, you want somebody to you want to reflect back. When you're working out, you want to see, okay, what was I eating? Did I get up? Everything you do in your job, you guys have managers that are going to reflect and look back at what you've done. So we have that in place, and we just got to get used to doing that with our finances. So once we start realizing, when I realized how many times I would eat out, and I was like, whoa, I mean, we're talking a couple $100s a week. That adds up really quickly, and it adds up everywhere else, guys. So we got to look at that. We definitely got to look at where our money is going, so you can have control of that. And I know you guys have all heard the rule, when you want to purchase something, to give it the 24 hours to really think about it. Maybe do that with a certain amount. Anything that's going to be over, let's say $100, make a commitment to yourself that you're going to give it 24 hours to really think about, do you need that, or can you afford that?
Exactly. I'm a terrible buyer. It takes me, I'll go to the mall 3 times to the same store and look at the same
Yeah.
item because I'm like, do I really need this? Do I really need
That's
this?
that's great. And my son is like that. My younger son, he would get birthday money and he would go up and down the mall and check out all the prices. He wasn't an impulse buyer. And I'll tell you, he has a lot more in savings than older brother that would buy the first thing he saw with his birthday money. So
But
that's great, Greg. I'm sure that that's a good thing. So not a
awesome.
terrible buyer. That's a great thing that you stop and look at that. So
Let's
that's that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
let's go back to your budget
Hmm.
synopsis. So we have a lot of young team members, right? So budgeting is can be a new concept to some of them.
Hmm.
So explain, why would they want to budget? What are they budgeting for? What should be one of their first goals of the budget? Should it be savings? Should it be buy an asset? What are your thoughts on why are you budgeting? What's the goal?
Well, a few goals. First of all, they need to make sure that they paying their all of their payments, the things that I went blank with the word that I want to use. Their commitments, what they're committed to. They have car payments if some of them are paying rent. And so they definitely need to take care of their commitments first in what they're paying. And you'll be surprised, Greg, at how many people not only just live paycheck to paycheck, but they're already spending the money from their next paycheck that they don't even have. So the goal in the beginning with a budget in the beginning is to get that on track, to really know what's going in and what's coming out. And a lot of times those don't balance out. A lot of times because we're spending money on things that we don't. And then once you get to that, once that becomes a system that you start to put in place, making sure all your bills are paid, you definitely want to start saving. Start saving. You need a rainy day fund. If 2020 didn't tell us anything at all, it was we need to be prepared. And a lot of people are, this has been for a long time, and they say rule of thumb is about 6 months. You should save up 6 months, but we need to be a little gracious and gentle with ourselves. Sometimes we the big picture, and for some people they won't even move forward because they're like, I can't save 10%. I can't, they automatically dismiss that because they're looking at down the line. So that's why I say give yourself a month or two to really know that your money in and money out is matching and you're paying all your commitments. Then once you start to get into that, you definitely start with savings in your own bank account, that you have access to cash in the event of emergency. So you want to keep that money in there. And then as you continue to go, then you want to start with retirement funding. You definitely want to start putting money away at the numbers that show if people are in their 20s and 30s, if they start to put away money now, the return that they'll have. And as I mentioned earlier, we live in the immediate, in the now. And so they're not thinking, they're like, oh, I'll take care of that in 20 or 30 years. 10 years goes like this, guys. 5 years goes like this. And sooner than we know it, I'm 20 years away from retirement. So it just goes really quickly, guys, very, very quickly, sooner than, faster than we expect. But definitely that's a great question. There is a goal to that. And that is one, getting used to that money and really thinking about, can I really afford to go and eat out with my friends this weekend? Can I really afford, just certain things, looking at that, this is my budget. So that really puts things into perspective. It should put things, and I do have and I can send that over to you, just a guideline of a simple budget and outline of kind of where to watch the money going. And some of them, if they're younger, they're not paying a mortgage or rent right now, but eventually they will. That their circumstance won't be like that forever. So they need to start budgeting. We all know what the rent is right now in Southern California. It's
Exactly.
expensive.
It's really important because, as I obviously get older and my kids get older and our expenses increase, and I see that happening a lot,
Mhm.
where we start to make more money and our expenses keep up with the new money that we made. And it really should be the inverse, right? You should start saving more the more money you make, right? Because the more
Mhm.
you can put away, the better you are for your financial future.
Absolutely. And once you have that commitment and you know you're comfortable with that, and I think taking out the impulse, and a lot of the times the cars, when I was younger, it was buying the car, and they say it depreciates as soon as you take it out the lot. And that's another thing to look at. So now I became a lot wiser once I started studying all this stuff. And it was like, no, I'm going to keep my car for a long time. So, we learn as we go, and we should be, we should always be learning on how to spend our money and to be wise with that. And once you have kids, that changes the whole dynamic. There's a cost for raising kids. If they're beautiful, I love them, but there's definitely a cost. We just talked about McDonald's alone when they want the Happy Meals.
Yes.
So there's
Yeah.
definitely a cost.
So
So
what I'm
that's
Sorry about
a,
that. So what I'm
go
hearing
ahead.
is they should start setting goals right now and accomplishing those, no matter how big, no matter how small, just so they start realizing, okay, this is a goal and I'm crossing it out and I'm starting to build momentum to my next goal. Does that sound accurate to what they should be doing?
Absolutely. We should always have a goal in mind. I run off goals. I have a little on my desk here. Goal Digger is the name of my journal, and I write it down every day. I do 12-week goals, and I'm constantly in my certain things that I want to do. And I put fun stuff in there. For my grandson's birthday, it was this elaborate thing that I just did over the summer, and that was my goal. That was something that was written in here and came about. So it's actually rewarding when you see the goal and you see the progress. So that's why I say stick with it. Another thing is I would recommend, if you're married, obviously, to do it together with your spouse so you have accountability. If you're not, then entrust a really good friend, because when we have someone else keeping us accountable, sometimes we'll give up on ourselves. But when we've given our word to somebody, or someone's expecting us to give us that call from us in a week, like, hey, I just did my budget, we're more prone to respond to what we said we would than our own goal to ourselves. So goals are huge, Greg, huge financially and all aspects of life. And when they start to budget, they can see, hey, my goal, if I continue with this, hey, I could get my own apartment in 6 months, or I can do this in so many months. So definitely goals are very, very important, and aim for the stars, guys. Sky's the limit, especially when you're young. Sky's the limit for you. So that would be one thing that I would definitely share is preparing financially. Um, Going into the next step after they started to do the budget, the next step of financial planning is laying that foundation of life insurance. And a lot of people don't like to talk about that, especially culturally, my culture. It's something we don't talk about. It's something we don't plan for. And unfortunately, we see GoFundMe's all day, every day. I just had a really, really dear friend of mine lose her son. Actually, he was killed at 30 years old. At 30 years old, we think we're going to go on forever. And it was tragic. It was wrong place, wrong time. And uh, they didn't have life insurance in place to bury him, because he's like, no, no, I'll take care of it later on. And it's just, if you have to dealt with that, and that's part of the reason why I started in this industry, is in my family and my culture, everyone that has proceeded never had anything in place. And I saw the devastation that it left the family members, losing homes, couldn't bury them, in pretty much in poverty, because they not only can you not afford to bury them, which I don't know if you guys have any idea how much it is to bury someone right now, you're talking $15,000 to $20,000 to bury someone right now. That's a
Wow.
lot of money that most people don't have. So dealing with that in itself, the heartache and devastation of losing someone is just horrible. But then having to deal with the financial part of it is really, really bad. So with that, a lot of people don't think life insurance, but life insurance is the foundation of financial planning, and there's a few reasons why. One, if someone is dependent upon your income, they lose that. And if there are children involved where you have obviously children, younger children, you got to account for your income at least until they're 18 years old. So that's usually the way that you do the math on that is, they're replacing that income so that the child can continue, whomever is going to care for them. But that is the foundation. And if you ask any financially savvy person or any wealthy person, they have millions and millions and millions of dollars of life insurance. They have life insurance on top of life insurance on top of life insurance because that is the foundation. And there's a few ways to do that. There are quick term policies, inexpensive way to get a great amount of coverage. And there is, with one of the companies I represent, they have dividends. And we talked about saving money and investing. With our permanent policies, our whole life policies, they have cash inside the policy. So the cash can be used tax free throughout their lifetime. And if set up correctly, Greg, they can have a great stream of income in retirement. So that's another way. There's a few ways to do it, but life insurance is definitely the foundation of financial planning because it's protecting, obviously, final expense, but it's replacing the income and protecting assets as we continue to get older, our home, all those things, the bills, if you're married, that continue. So life insurance is a huge part of that most people don't look at.
So Suzette, so if I'm a young, person, I'm thinking I don't have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of assets. My parents may not have a lot of money or assets. How much is life insurance? It's got to be very expensive.
No, so the beauty of having a personal, not a 1-800 number, of having a local agent is working through. And I have many clients that each one is a different, we work out a different plan for each one. So let me give you, for instance, I have 18 and 20-year-olds that just started and their parents are like, you need to get life insurance. Because I will tell you, most people think that getting life insurance at a young age is not a good thing. That's probably the best time because you're young and you're healthy. And that's when you're looking at like $10 a month. But the main goal is to put something in place. So that's where we start. So it's evaluating first. So $10, when people hear that, it's $10 a month, $15, $20. That's definitely doable. They're like, oh, I could do that. And so I have many young people that I mentor, the college age kids, and that's right when they're starting their career because we know that they're in school and so many different things. So we get them when they're young and healthy, and then we work a plan as they grow.
That's really good. And
Yeah.
I can echo those sentiment, right? And my culture, it's not very, it just, it's a hard conversation to have. And it's even a hard thought to have, right? I have
Hmm.
3 young children, and
Mm.
it's difficult to think about that one day I'm not going to be here, but it's going to happen at some point, right?
Mhm.
So either I can shy away from that fear, or I can just embrace the fact or the reality of the situation. If I'm not here, where does that leave them? My wife
Mm.
doesn't work. I am the sole provider. We have a house, we have other property, we have other assets, right?
Wow.
And I need to make sure that if something does happen to me, they don't have to pick up day one and act as if nothing happened, right? They are able to maintain not only the lifestyle, but they're able to deal with, what comes after that, right? So it's very important. It's difficult to have that conversation, but it's something that we have to at least acknowledge and not pretend that it doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's definitely, and I think this year alone, when Kobe passed and his young daughter, I actually life insurance this year has been, like I said, this year hasn't taught us anything. It's to be prepared, and most people have, that has been the reason. But I think once that happened, that was like such an eye opener. We have this wealthy man, young man, vibrant public figure. Everyone loves him. And I mean, I remember that day. We all remember what we were doing that day because it was so tragic. And we don't know. And that's the responsible thing to do, is to put that in place. And like I said, 10, and those that are not 18 to 20, 25, it's still, the price goes up gradually. It's not $10 to 150. No, it's a gradual. But as we get older and as we age, young people, it happens, our bodies change and we start to tend to take a lot more medication, and all those things happen. So we're not as healthy as we were when we were 18 years old, 18, 20, 25, and 30. So there are many things that we can do. And again, it's walking you through that process and knowing what you're getting, knowing the terms of exactly what you have. So yes, being responsible, as you said, and we all want to live. We all want life to go according to plan, but excuse me, if it doesn't, that's where you have peace of mind, and it's going to be taken care of. But term is one way to do it. As you mentioned, you get tons and tons of units of those. You can do that. And as I briefly mentioned, there is a cash generating life insurance, and that's huge, especially right now where interest rates are low and so many different things. It's owning stock in a Fortune 100 company, and that money is accessible at any time when the money's there. It's not like other retirement accounts where you need to be a certain age to access it or pay a penalty or pay taxes. So these cash generating, they can pull while they're living. I have people take them out to buy a home. I've had people take them out to, a wedding, whatever they want to, that as long as the money's there. So that's probably one of the number one things that I do, and it's planning with them and growing with them. So those are great. It's an asset. It's an asset. The banks look at it as an asset. Those cash generating life insurance.
Now, walk my team through how they have that conversation with a loved one. They're 25 and their parents may be in their 50s. How do they have that conversation to introduce them to life insurance of any magnitude?
It's a tough conversation because as a parents, we don't want to listen to our 25-year-old. We think that we know everything at that point. But I think especially culturally, I'm going to speak from my culture, but just in general, I think we need to have it. And it may not be the first, we just need to sit down and have it. And it may not be the first time that they'll receive it. It may take several conversations to get that going. And I would come with the idea of, wow, I just learned this. Let me impart this wisdom on you. And that's the idea, because I care. And that's how I approach it to my family, to my friends when I'm discussing this with them. Did you know this can be done for this amount? Or did you know it's not as bad? Or there's a lot of misinformation out there regarding life insurance. So having a person explain it to you and having a reputable company, Greg, is huge, because we all have heard the horror stories, all of us. And so that unfortunately gives a bad name. But like any industry, there may be some hiccups here and there, but you want to make sure that it's a trusted advisor, someone that's true and trusted, that has been in the business and knows what they're doing and will continue to be in the business. So yeah, just have that conversation with the parents. They may not receive it, but definitely have it.
Awesome. So what I would love for you to do is kind of go through your suite of products, right? You're more than just life insurance. Explain what other products and services you have, and kind of the benefits really quickly, so my team can have that information going forward.
Awesome. Thank you. So as we spoke about life insurance, that being the foundation, and then retirement, you want to start to look into retirement, and it's putting away a certain amount that is going to be pre-taxed. So you're putting away money, you're saving, and again, as I mentioned earlier, the years go quickly, guys. So don't beat yourself up. It's never too late to start. Something is better than nothing. And I think a lot of people are embarrassed. I get that a lot. They're embarrassed to say, I'm embarrassed. I haven't started. But I'm like, great, we're here now. Let's get it going. So I'm very optimistic about that. I'm in my late 40s and I'm like, no, it's great. Let's go. Let's do this. And so it's never too late to start, guys. Never too late. Of course, and then as you get older, maybe you don't have the young kids anymore. And there are certain rules where you can put away more as you get older. They allow you to input more. So things change. It's just knowing the rules and the laws, guys. And what works for you may not work for your colleague, so it's an individual plan. It's not a one size fits all. And depending on their retirement age, realistic retirement age, and also looking at what they're going to have in Social Security, if that's still around when we get there. But
Exactly.
looking at that, that's part of that as well. Another that most people don't talk about is long-term care insurance. And that is pre-buying insurance in the event that you need care as you get older. And we talked about our culture. We love our culture. We have the grandmas. Sometimes you'll see 3 generations in one house. You got mom taking care of grandma and kids, and it can become a big burden on those. And as we continue to evolve and be two parents working in the household, if you have to come away and take care of a grandparent or parent, it's a lot of work. So it doesn't cost a lot of money to get that in place. But the main idea with this type of planning and life insurance and long-term care is getting it before you need it. You don't buy it once you need that. So long-term care is huge. It's a huge part of financial. As yourself, Greg, as you have these things, you're very fortunate. You already have a lot of things in place and continuing to keep growing. It's protecting that asset in the event. It could be even a car accident where you're no longer able to do certain things. You're going to need care. And what happens is care is very expensive, guys. You start spending down your assets and your money, and you're removing that legacy that you've built up. And so that's one part of it, long-term care. And then last is disability insurance. So in the event that you can no longer work, what it does is it covers your income. It covers 60%. It's not 100%. Nothing's going to make you 100% whole. There's 60, 70%. There's different increments that you can get, but it's replacing that income if you became disabled for a short period or for a long-term period. So that is another way to protect. So it's all about protecting. In life, we don't know what's going to happen. None of us know. We can plan, and that's great, and we all should. But suppose this happens, so you have to have coverage for that. Suppose this happens. Suppose life goes according to plan and you go and retire at 55, 60 years old and living on an island somewhere. That's wonderful. We don't know. But all of these steps that we take now is going to afford you to have those things later on, whether life doesn't go according to plan or life goes according to plan.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, team. It sounds like she's saying get started now. No matter how
Absolutely.
big, how small, write down your goals, start attacking those goals, and make sure you see them through, because life comes at you fast. 5 years goes by in a heartbeat, 10 years, 15 years, and the next thing you know, you're at an age where you should be retiring, but you may not be able to. And one thing you don't want to have in life is regret. You do not want to look back at 65 and say you should have done X, Y, and Z to be in a better position. So, Suzette, thank you so much. Any parting words?
As he said, take action. We all want that beautiful life. We want more. you be the generation that wants more. And that's what I am. I'm the generation that wants more for my children and for my grandchildren. So it starts with you. So want more, and let me help you do that. Take care,
Awesome.
guys.
Thank you so much.